Hey there, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of Collective, the podcast. Now, I've been super excited for this particular episode because it is covering one of my favorite movies of all time. I was literally raised on Disney movies, and the movie I'm talking about is The Lion King. Yes. So the reason why it's titled Lion King Decoded, for those of you who are not so familiar with what exactly I do, which is understandable because I haven't really defined it as such. So Collective is basically a space where we explore our spirituality, where we look deeper into messages, into signs and synchronicities that the divine, God, source, spirit, universe, whatever you choose to call it, shows us. And yeah, that's basically it. And, different ways in which we can promote our wellness, our health, and heal our pain. That's the main, MO of Collective in short. So, cutting all that out of the way, let's get into it. So, The Lion King. I'm referring specifically to the movie that was released in 1994. So The Lion King basically is a movie that is based on the circle of life, so to speak. And if you've watched the movie, you're familiar with the scenes that I'm going to go through. But if you haven't, this is your chance to go and watch it, rewatch it, alongside with the interpretations that I'm giving here so that you can see where that fits in your life. I believe that we are all reflections of each other, and we're going to cover that in the analysis of the scenes. But why I am saying that is because I have been led to give out this message because not only does it affect me and my life and the people who are in my life, but it also affects whoever is led to this message. I strongly believe in the fact that there is no such thing as coincidences, and if you are led here, it is because you may be going through this, or you may know somebody who is going through this, and it may help you. Alrighty, let's jump in. So, The Lion King starts with a sunrise. Now, everybody knows without the sun, life cannot be. Simple, that's it. And for my brothers and sisters who are, in the different continents, Europe, America, Australia, you know that with winter, you know how important the sun is. You miss the sun, and especially now because it's the winter solstice, which is the darkest day, the longest day of winter for you guys. Then you realize how important the sun is to you. And this is a point in time where a lot of us are looking back into our lives and seeing how important certain things are to us and what we're willing to do for them, so to speak. Excuse me. Now, in tarot, for those of you who are familiar with tarot, the sun card represents the state of joy. True joy, happiness, fulfillment, new beginnings, a new dawn, a new day, and just hope, It's also associated with the star sign of Leo. Now, why I am saying this is so crazy because if this message fits for you, you'll understand it. So for those of you who've never done a birth chart, please make sure you go to astroseek.com, or you can just Google birth chart and put in your date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth, and you'll be able to draw up your birth chart and find out if you have any significant Leo placements. So that's why I'm mentioning that the sun is associated with the star sign of Leo. It's super, super connected, and I'm trying not to get super excited because the synchronicities are just bomb. So shout out to Archangel Michael and Archangel Gabriel especially, who's helping me with this message. Now, you see, the star sign of Leo is significant because for those of you who have Leo in your 4th house, or you may be Leo sun, moon, rising, or ascendant, or you may have Venus in Leo. And there's an exception also for people who have Jupiter in Leo, especially because of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that's happening tomorrow, which, by the way, has not happened since the year 1623. So this is telling you how significant this message all is. I'm trying not to put everything, in the beginning, because, I've written down the whole message. It's a lot. So please bear with me. I promise it will make sense in the end. Now, basically, this movie is centered around a lot of spiritual, significances, especially with Christmas coming up. Now, something that I've learned in my journey in spirituality is that, yes, Jesus was born on Christmas, and then, well, not literally on Christmas Day, but the feast of Christmas is centered around his birth. Now, the thing that blew my mind was finding out what the real meaning of Christmas was, which is remembering why you were born so that you could die and be born again. I'm going to repeat that for you. Remembering why you were born so you could die and be born again. So Christmas signifies the beginning of a new journey. And this is so significant, especially because of the year that we've had, 2020. A lot of you have been saying you can't wait for things to get back to normal. Newsflash, things will never be the same again. Shout out to Mel C and Left Eye Lopez for that song. That is also part of the message. You may need to go and listen to that song. It has messages for you. It's not a secret anymore. Now we've opened up that door. Starting tonight and from now on, things will never be the same again. Yes, mark my words, people. So basically, if you remember the way the movie opens up after the whole sunrise and, the song, The Circle of Life is playing in the background as the sun is rising. Now, basically, what that means is The Circle of Life is basically a song that denotes what is happening right now. We have come to the end of a cycle and a circle of life, and we are beginning a new cycle, which, for those of you who are not new to, astrology, and you've been studying, sacred texts, the Bible as well, a lot of you know that there is kind of the ending of the world, so to speak, and the beginning of a new world. Now, we were previously in the age of in the age of Pisces, and we are now stepping into the age of Aquarius as the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction happens tomorrow in 0 degrees Aquarius, signifying a whole new cycle. So, The Circle of Life, I'm going to read through the lyrics, especially the beginning, because it's in Zulu, and for those of you who are not Zulu, you may not understand what they mean. So, I'm not going to read the Zulu words, Zulu. I'm not going to read the Zulu words because I don't want to butcher the pronunciation, but here is what they mean. So it says, here's a lion, they said they were. We say a lion, here's a lion, they said they were. We say a lion, the lion, we will win, the lion. A lion and a bear that is spotted, a lion and a bear that is spotted, a lion and a bear that is spotted, the lion and the spotted leopard, the lion and a leopard with a name, the lion and the spotted leopard. From the day we arrive on the planet, and blinking step into the sun. There's more to see than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found. But the sun rolling high through the sapphire sky keeps great and small on the endless round. It's the circle of life, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and love, till we find our place on the path unwinding. Now, there's so much to unpack just in that part only of the song. The lyrics are quite repetitive because it just repeats what I said twice. So I'm just going to go through what's really stood out to me with specification to how it relates to the message. So going back to what I was saying about Christmas and remembering why we were born so that we could die to be born again. Through my spiritual journey, I have learned that we chose to be born where we were born, i.e. the families we were born in, so that we could remember what our process or what our purpose is in this specific lifetime. To remember not just our purpose, but most importantly, who we are. And this is going to be like the heaviest part of, the message, because this is something that I've been fearful of saying, more specifically because of the religion that I was raised in, which is the Catholic religion, and you know how that goes, and with the whole dogma thing and everything. But I am so happy that I've finally come to a place of true love for myself and understanding of myself, that I know that there is no need for fear, and all I need to do is face everything and rise. And this is for you too. This is a message that I'm sharing with you so that you can face everything and rise and really embrace who you are. I mean, Collective's slogan is honoring the greatness within you, and the reason why that is the slogan is because I realize that we are all manifestations of God. We are all God in meat suits, literally experiencing each other. God created us to discover what more of himself, herself, themselves, because God is not one thing. We cannot put God in a box, so we are all experiencing this reality in different manifestations of God, with the different scales of the balances of yin and yang, of people being good and people being bad. So as for us to choose with our free will who exactly we wanted to be. But the catch is that you cannot access your highest self unless you bring those two aspects into balance. So this is not me telling you to be, a complete angel. That is your choice. This is me telling you to bring into balance these things. And it's so interesting that I'm saying this in Sagittarius season, on the cusp of, Capricorn season coming in, because Sagittarius is all about temperance. It's all about balance. So, yes. Now, without getting super excited, let me get back into the message of basically Simba's birth. Now, as I said earlier, about me finding out what Christmas was, that first scene is very, very important in alluding to that we are born with a certain purpose, and it is for us to discover it. Now, all of us are born in different circumstances, as I said earlier. So in the beginning, Simba is with his family, and he's denoted as being part of the royal family, while the other animals are just, basically onlookers to the whole process. Now, Scar, Simba's uncle, represents his name literally just means that, like scar, like the wounding that we carry. I also view Scar as representing the ego self, the shadow self, because you've seen his character in the whole movie. I don't think I need to go deeper into that. But in the opening scene, he says this particular line that stood out to me, where he addresses, he's talking to himself. He picks up this little mouse, and he's like, I'm never going to be king, and life isn't fair, And this represents the things that the ego tells us to, quote unquote, kind of protect us, because the ego is there to protect us in this 3D world, and I can testify to that, because my ego shadow self has really pulled me away from my purpose, because it's like, what if people don't like you, and what if they don't resonate, and what if they think you're crazy, and that's what stopped me for such a long time. And I was bitter at so many people for such a long time, and yet I was the one holding myself back. So Scar represents the scars that we have inside us, that we allow as well to hold us back, in addition to the ego and shadow self. Now, the next scene following after that was, Simba being shown around the kingdom by his dad, and he says this other thing that really stood out to me, which was, everything the light touches is yours. And that really, to me, sounded similar to the Bible verse that goes something like, all that the Father has is mine. So basically, all that the Father has is yours, and that's what God is trying to tell us. That's the message that God is trying to speak to us, that we come out of a state of self-limitation and step into our highest self when we realize that we are already abundant as we are. We have everything that we need in our hands. It's just for us to put power into those situations, as much as we put power into our scars and the situations that hold us back. Now, the next thing he says after that was, you must never go into the shadows. Now, I didn't take that as a literal, interpretation, but to me, I saw it as him trying to say that to be in your highest self, you cannot act from your shadow alone, just as much as you cannot act from the light alone, as much as the light does lead you there faster. But it is very important to integrate it. Balance is key. The way you can put a candlelight in the darkness and it illuminates the darkness, but the darkness is something that tends to consume us, rather than, accommodate or share its light, no matter how small. So that's why I was saying, even if you choose to embody the light energy, it may lead you to your higher self faster, but at the end, you would have to integrate the darkness as well. Now, to support exactly, what I was saying is that Mufasa goes on to say that everything exists in a delicate balance. And as a king, you need to understand that balance and respect all creatures, because we are all connected. So that's exactly what I was saying about the yin and the yang, that, there can be no good without bad. The reason why bad exists is for us to have a choice, to choose better for ourselves, and good also exists so that you can see the stark contrast of the bad. And this takes me back to what I was saying in the beginning of the nature of God. If you read the creation story, before everything was created, God desired to understand more of himself. He desired to understand how he would act in different situations. And I know we may all feel that this is like a screwed up game that, the Most High is playing, but I think it's some magnificent plan. And I don't think it would have worked any other way, because with my own journey looking at it, I had to go through the bad. I had to forget, who I was in order to remember. And the remembrance process has been some of the most memorable, prolific times of my life. I have never felt so much power. I have never felt so much love. I can honestly say I never knew what love was until now, until having gone through the process. And that song has just popped into my head by Faith Evans. I never knew there was a love like this before. Yes, so, man, I just have to pause, because the revelations that just keep coming through, man, it's quite interesting. So, moving on, because there's quite a lot to cover. Zazu comes up to give Mufasa and Simba, the morning report. And it's so funny because he gives it in like puns. So he's like, the leopards were spotted. And then I told the elephants to forget, but they just couldn't, because elephants are known to like never forget. Anyway, but there's something in that morning report that really stood out to me. And he said that the cheetahs never prosper. Cheetahs never prosper. And that's so true, because, man, I'm going to put myself out there, because, being in this position, when God is your boss, there are some things that you just do. And yeah, in service of the Most High, I will definitely put myself out there and hang myself out there in in a bid to show you guys that it is possible. It is so possible for you to realize your power and grow from, your pain, and use your pain as building blocks. I used to view people who cheated their way up as, successful, because especially growing up in Kenya, there are a lot of examples of people who are really, not the most honest people. And yet, if you look at them, they're in the highest positions of government. They're in the highest positions, just full stop. People who cheat seem to end up winning. And I learned the hard way that you never truly prosper doing that. Yes, you may prosper for a while, but you never fully prosper doing that. So I just wanted to put that out there. Another thing that I wanted to point out, because I was naming, meanings of names, Mufasa actually means king. Yes. And in this context, when I say the word king, I'm referring to the God within you, the greatness within you. All right. Then just another side note, his wife is called Sarabi, and Sarabi means mirage. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but everything around you is an illusion. Why is it an illusion? Because it is, think of it kind of as you being put in a simulation to experience yourself in different aspects, so as to bring out your highest aspects of yourself. So this is, alluding back to what I was saying about God discovering himself through himself. And then Nala, Simba's betrothed or best friend, or divine feminine, also in this, which we're going to cover, is a name that translates to gift loosely. It means the gift. So basically, we're going to go into how God has given us the gift of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, so that you can have a partner to help you go through this journey of life, to realize who you truly are, and to reach your highest potential in service of him, in order to bring the collective into that oneness, because we are all just one person in different bodies, literally, with different thoughts and manifestations, but we are just the same. We are one. And the whole idea of this whole game of life is to unite ourselves so that God can come back into himself. But that is, a lot, I'm sure, that I'm unpacking for you right now. So I'm going to take you slowly. Don't worry. In future, I will do more podcasts about this, especially for those of you who are new to the spiritual journey. I'm sure you're listening to this and you're like, what is going on? Don't worry. It's going to make sense soon. Now, moving on. We see Scar seeming to look out for Simba's well-being, in quotes, and this represents, it can be different for different people, but what I'm getting is it's mostly family members who are around you, or people that you keep closest to you. So this can be friends, family members who seemingly seem to be looking out for you, but really don't wish you the best. And mostly these people will manifest as narcissists, people who are pros at gaslighting, making you look insane. They really know how to single you out and put you into a category, and they are seasoned professionals at making you look insane, so that when you are in a crowd of people, they seem to look like the good person and you look like the bad person, pointing a finger at them. Now, that's something I had to learn the hard way, but I'm so grateful I went through that lesson, because now I look at them with compassion and less hatred. Because to be honest, I really used to feel a lot of hatred for them, because I'd be like, why are you singling me out? What have I done to you? Until I realize it's not what have I done to you. It is, wow, you mean my greatness is that much and that threatening that you're making me feel that I need to dim my light? Yet you are the same greatness. You just need to realize it in yourself. But those are the scars that I was telling you about, the wounds people hold on to, and they point fingers at you, blaming you for everything, instead of going within and looking at the ways that they held themselves back, just the way I had to look at the ways that I held myself back. Now, going into one of my favorite songs in the whole movie is I Just Can't Wait to Be King. So I'm just going to go through the lyrics real fast, and then we're going to highlight, the bits and pieces that stand out and have a particular message. So it goes, I'm going to be a mighty king, so enemies beware. And then Zazu goes, well, I've never seen a king of beasts with quite so little hair. I'm going to be the main event like no king was before. I'm brushing up on looking down. I'm working on my roar. Zazu goes, thus far, a rather uninspiring thing. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. And then Zazu goes, you've rather a long way to go, young master, if you think. Simba says, no one's saying do this. Zazu, now when I said that, and then Nala is like, no one's saying be there. Zazu is like, what I meant was, Simba, no one saying stop that. Zazu, look, what you don't realize. Simba and Nala say, no one's saying see here. And then Simba goes, free to run around all day, free to do it all my way. And then Zazu says, I think it's time that you and I arranged a heart-to-heart. Simba, kings don't need advice from little hornbills for a start. Zazu, if this is where the monarchy is headed, count me out of service, out of Africa. I wouldn't hang about. This child is getting wildly out of wing. And then Simba goes, oh, I just can't wait to be king. Everybody look left, everybody look right. Everywhere you look, I'm standing in the spotlight. And then Zazu says, not yet. And then all the animals go, let every creature go for broken sing. Let's hear it in the herd and on the wing. It's going to be King Simba's finest fling. And then everyone joins in to say, oh, I just can't wait to be king. All right, so this song is basically a realization of, Simba, being excited about going on the journey and really wanting to get there pretty fast, which is quite a problem for most of us in our generation. We don't have the patience to go through the journey and take it step by step. And I am one of those guilty as charged, because it took me quite a while to learn that, things don't happen as fast as we want them to. If you would like to build something lasting, a legacy that is lasting, if you want to build lessons that are lasting, you need to have the patience with yourself first and foremost, and patience with other people as well. So, we may be excited and know what is headed for us in the horizon, but then we need to take the time to be patient and really just be in the present, enjoy the present, and really celebrate each and every aspect of it. Now, going into the next scene, which is the elephant graveyard scene, this represents a lot of things. First of all, running from your fears makes them continuously chase you. When you're not afraid and you face everything and rise, then that's when they dissipate. Now, I don't know about you guys, but personally, this is a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, that mostly because I'm the type of person, when something disturbs me, I'm a fight or flight type of person, heavy on the flight emphasis. So I will just remove myself from a situation instead of facing it. And I've learned that situation tends to manifest in your life over and over through different types of people, until you learn to not be afraid of it anymore and just face it. And then that's when the lesson disappears. That's when certain types of people in your life disappear, because you've learned the lesson that you needed to learn from that experience. But what you're most afraid of will follow you. That is the lesson here. Now, the second lesson in the elephant graveyard scene is that, that lesson in patience that I was talking about earlier with the song I Just Can't Wait to Be King, that it's good to want things, but you need to learn not to rush. Because, Simba, when he was speaking to his father, he was like, I thought you're not scared of anything and you're a king, but I'm also going to be a king, so what's the problem? And his father was letting him know that, being brave doesn't mean that you go looking for trouble, which means that there's beauty in the journey just as much as there is in the destination. So just because you know what it is that you have inside you doesn't mean that you go, pulling it to yourself now because you're in the process of training for a reason, so that when you're put in such a situation as the one that you know you're meant to face, it will be much, much easier. Now, another thing that came up, during the same scene when, Simba was being taught a lot of lessons by his father about, going into things without thinking, he also mentioned the fact that we need to realize that we are never really alone, when you look at the stars, he said that the great kings of the past look down on us from the sky, and those kings will always be there to guide you. So that basically means that, our ancestors, our spirit guides, we always look to the sky and dream of like heaven being, past the ethers, and, just this magnificent place where all of the people that we know and love are. And that when we look to the sky, it reminds us of who we are. But then again, as I said, in the circle of life, just as we are human beings right now, at some point we won't be a human being. You may turn into something else. And, it's subject to all of people's different beliefs. But what the lesson is here is that we are never truly alone. It's not even just the aspect of our ancestors and our spirit guides. It's the aspect of that we are never really truly alone, because we, as we are different people experiencing different realities, there are a lot of people who are going through the same thing as well. So that's the lesson there for us to, take heed to and realize. Now, moving into the next part of the movie, which is, the hyenas. The hyenas' names are also quite significant because Shenzi is a Swahili word as well. Most of the names are Swahili. Shenzi is a Sheng word as well as, a Swahili word, but it translates basically to a savage, someone who's barbaric in their thinking. But is also, in Sheng, someone who's called a Shenzi is like translated to being someone who's like daft, just to be nice. And then we have Ed. So for me, Ed, if you look at that hyena, he kind of reminds me of the character of Ed as well in Ed, Ed and Eddie. So that also alludes to, the beingness of being in the daft department. And then we have, why am I forgetting her name? Yes, it's Banzai, and it's a he. Yeah, so Banzai means to skulk or lurk in Japanese. But Banzai also means 10,000 years. It was also kind of a war cry. Like, the way you say, like, long live the king, but then you say, like, 10,000 years. So that's what, like, Banzai means as well. So those are the hyenas in the movie Lion King, and they symbolize basically the jealous energies and negative Nancys that are in our lives. People who just want things the easy way, people who want things handed to them, people who also have a sense of entitlement. So people who may have been, raised in such a way that they feel that they deserve everything and that they don't have to work for anything, so to speak. Those are who the hyenas symbolize. So there's a reason why Scar and the hyenas, were banded together, because when you are in your wounded type of energy, then those are the type of people that you attach to, or the people that gravitate towards you, people who want things easily and know that all they need to do is just, butter up your ego and you'll give them the world. So Scar can also represent people who value titles and material things over true riches. Now, for those of you who are spiritually inclined, you're aware that true riches is basically being one with self and having unconditional love and being unconditional love. Now, Scar represented those who rule using fear and ego. I can't emphasize how much this is so relevant to our recent times, because I don't need to reiterate what's been happening in 2020, and there's a reason why I keep saying that this is a new age, it's a new world order that's happening. It will take some time definitely to ease into, but then that's how new eras are created, there has to be some crashing down of the old regime so that the new can grow. Now, I also noted something really important, that Scar's name is very significant because our wounds cause us to cause more pain, because we've experienced pain so much that, we feel that it's what we deserve and that it's the only way to get what we want. Because, you give the love that you think that you deserve. Like, whatever love you've experienced in your life is what you will give to other people. Now, Mufasa's death, saddest part of the movie, hands down. Now, Scar and Mufasa are, I would say, the yin and yang aspects in our lives. So that's that devil energy and that God energy that we have in ourselves. Now I'm going to do a podcast specifically on, God and the devil as well, just to give some deeper insight into it. Spoiler alert, the devil is not a person, it's an energy. But moving along before I confuse you even more. So, Scar thought that he was winning over God because through killing his brother Mufasa, who symbolizes, the God self within us, he sparked the ascension process of Simba. Why? Because Simba had to run away, go through his motions, heal his pain. And he realized that to be born again, he had to die to his old self. And by dying to his old self, he had to face his past. Now, in our lives, painful things will happen to shock us into your remembering process. Because, of course, you're not just going to start remembering who you are when everything's all la-di-da. You'll just be distracted by life and its luxuries. Like, you won't be inclined to remember who you are. And I feel like that's the significance of 2020 as a whole, that God has sparked this shock process within us to really go back within. There's a reason why all of us are, locked down at home. Other people may have had other, intentions with the lockdown and everything, but God knew what the end plan was with this lockdown, that it would give us some time to, step away from work, step away from school, and really pay attention to what's important, which is going back to God, going back to ourselves, remembering ourselves. And this is a process that only starts when you forgive yourself for preconceived wrongs and, just taking the time to heal and be with yourself and listen to your thoughts. Now, if you're listening, you may be from a family where the patriarch passed away in a senseless accident because of envy. It doesn't have to be, but this may be something that rings true to you. So you may have been born in a narcissistic family as well, where, they used tactics to try and finish you or to try and finish particular, family members. But I am here to tell you that you are God's chosen. We are all God's chosen. There is nothing that will touch you, even if those people have decided to be in their negative energy and forced you to run away once. Now you are back to reclaim your kingdom. I'm talking to people who have had to go back to their place of origin, where they may have felt that they couldn't be before because of, family energies that were making them feel that they were not welcome, that were making them feel less than they were, that were making them feel crazy. Don't allow yourself to be gaslit. Listen to yourself, listen to your intuition. I'm sure you've been going through these motions and you know exactly what is going on, and it's just your fear. But you need to face everything and rise. Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. Because a few of you may also, have been threatened, to be killed if you ever tried to come back, or threatened, by just their presence, But the thing is that this is the time when the greedy ones are being exposed. Just if you want to see who is on what side, just look at the things that God is doing for people's lives. The people who are going through extreme karma right now, who are experiencing hardship right now. And by hardship, I don't mean lack of money. I mean like true, serious, karmic retribution. Because you can be without money and you can be totally happy and at peace. So just know that this is a time when the jealous ones are being exposed. They these are people who may have tried to drive you into the ground, and they may be wondering why you're still standing, why you keep, they tried to make you fall, they tried to put you into a position where you felt that you were less than what you are, but then you keep standing up, you keep dusting yourself off. I hear that song by Aaliyah, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. That is you are listening to this right now, and this message, there is no coincidence. As I said before, this message is meant for you. Now, moving on, we see this scene where, after Simba ran away, he was saved by Pumbaa and Timon. Now, Pumbaa translates loosely to a fool, and Timon to honor. Now, the reason why I am saying this is because in tarot, the fool represents somebody who is willing to take a risk and go after the unknown, walk into the unknown. And that is the embodiment of a true person of God, a true person of resolve, because you are willing to just, laugh at whatever happened in your past, laugh at yourself even, and just be able to take on this new childlike energy. For those of you who are Christians, you're aware of this passage in the Bible that says that the kingdom of heaven is for the young at heart and for children, and that is why, because you need to have this childlike energy in order to come back into yourself, in order to create heaven on earth. Now, Timon, to honor, as I said, with, honoring the greatness within you. Timon was there to help, honor the greatness within Simba and help Simba remember. Now, there's a point where, when they were introducing each other, they noticed that, Simba was depressed. So a lot of you may have gone through depression, but, as you continue to watch the movie, you watch how Simba heals himself, goes through this healing process, and that's something that why I say this movie is just so phenomenal and will always be in my heart, and it's something I'll definitely raise my children on. You've got to put your past behind you. They say it in a funny way in the movie where they go, you've got to put your behind in your past, which I like, because definitely put your behind in your past, because bad things happen and you cannot do anything about them, which is wrong. Because when the world turns its back on you, you turn your back on the world. Now, that's something that Timon told Simba, and that's why he's mentioned, his name is so significant, why it means honor. Now, Simba admits that, that's not what I was taught, and, he was feeling sad about it. And that's something that I want you guys to realize right now, that a lot of us are stepping out of the things that we were taught to believe, stepping out of that consciousness, stepping out of the programming that we were given, because we are remembering ourselves. This is not who we are. This 3D, where there's limits and everything. No, you are greater than you can even imagine. And Timon really brings that out well, because he says, well, I think you need a new lesson. Hakuna Matata, which in English translates to no worries. You should never be worried about anything. I mean, shout out to Bob Marley, go and listen to Three Little Birds. That's another song that, is really relevant to this message. There's no need to worry, because as I said earlier, what you fear chases you. So, and where your attention goes, energy flows, paradiso is a state of mind, If you notice in the movie, Simba asks, where are the antelopes and all that stuff? And then Timon is like, there's none of that, change your diet. So a lot of you are eating a lot of things which are not really healthy for you. I'm not one to tell people to change their diet completely, but I am inclined to, telling you to cut down, red meat specifically, eat more healthier, wholesome foods, foods that help you, clean up your gut, because your gut is, where your instincts come from. It's how you listen to your intuition. So when your gut is clean, your mind is clean, and you can think straight. So think about that. Now, we move into the scene of the movie where it shows how, Pride Rock and the whole of the Pride lands became a wasteland after Scar took over. again, notice that this is due to entitlement. Like, I had to underline entitlement again, because a lot of you may also be in situations where, you notice that the people who are wounded, they were successful in chasing out the people who, they felt threatened by, but they were not able, once they got that kingdom that they so wanted, they were not able to sustain the kingdom, and there was hunger. Things were much better under Mufasa, under the king, under the light, under God's self, under your highest self. Now, that's something that, again, is really, really, really coming into focus in this year, that we have seen the state in which the world is in right now. We notice that we are tired. We don't want this to happen anymore. We remember the times when, the earth was much greener, when the earth was much more abundant, and it still is abundant. It's just for us to decide to choose to change our reality. Now, the next really important point is how we get to our higher self. Now, the movie then moves on to, where Nala goes to look for goes to look for Simba. Now, as I said earlier, Nala translates loosely to gift. Now, when you unite your divine feminine and your divine masculine, that's when you truly find home. Like, that's when you take your place as king, literally. What I mean by uniting your divine feminine and masculine is twofold. It's not necessarily in the person, so to speak, because your divine feminine and or masculine will only manifest in the 3D, in reality, once you have united that aspect within yourself. So a lot of us are going through a lot of wounding with regards to our mothers, with regards to our fathers, and we need to really go deep and explore that and really heal that. Forgive your parents. They didn't know what they were doing. Why am I saying this? Because their parents also didn't know what they were doing. I'm not saying that everyone didn't know what they were doing, but if you're listening to this and you resonate with the fact that you had a divine feminine and masculine wounding, or you have wounding with either one of your parents, then there is a need to go deep within and A, forgive that parent, and B, become the parent that you wish you had. Plain and simple. And then for those of you who are seeking for love, that is when you will find your true divine counterpart, because that can only manifest once you are a whole within yourself. You have to be one within yourself in order to unite to become two. Now, many masculine energies, especially at this time, not even just this time, like the whole year, if you look at the placements of like Venus and Mars, Venus is quite ahead of, Mars at the moment. So, it's the feminine energies who have been able to heal faster, who have been able to, and when I say feminine energies, it doesn't mean females alone. You can be a male and have dominant feminine energies, and you can be a female and have dominant masculine energies. It's just about that wounding that I was talking about in the past, and also your personality as well. If you'd like more insight on that, feel free to email me. I'll give you more information on that, but I'll also do an episode for your convenience. Now, something else I was really drawn to write down because of this is that because many masculine energies have been going through it, but the feminine energies have had the time to heal and really recalibrate, then it will be a feminine energy from your past that comes back to give you that final nudge for you to realize who you are and for you to start that process that you may have already started unknowingly, but just really start to appreciate and be kinder to yourself. Now, another thing that I wrote down in the process was divine law always wins. Now, if you notice that the word law is something that is really revered. And why is that? Because it stands for love always wins. The law is supposed to be on our side in the aspect that God's law will always win. No matter if you see or feel that bad guys seem to get the upper hand, that's just the illusion for now. But in the end, the way this is all set up, as I said earlier when we were talking about Mufasa's death and Scar thinking that he won over, Mufasa and Simba by just killing his brother, he wasn't. Like, God knows that, yes, there are some people that, will die in the process. But at the end of the day, you are going to remember who you are. You're going to come back to God in the process. Like, And this will become much clearer, when I do the video about God and the devil, for those of you who are still floating. Now, for a lot of us, we get tempted to, just stay where we feel safe and do something that we feel familiar with. So, in that scene of The Lion King where Nala comes to get Simba and he's like, yo, I can't leave, like this is paradise, where I am, and I don't want to go back because everyone thinks I killed my dad, So this is kind of a lesson teaching us that we need to learn to do things that scare us. I encourage people to do things that scare them every day, but to notice that paradise is a state of mind. It's not a place. That's something I learned because I used to run away from my problems all the time to different places, thinking that if I was in a different place, it would be different. But no, paradise is within you. It is you. Now, after that, Rafiki shows up because he realizes that Simba is alive, and there's this really profound scene where he hits Simba on the head, and Simba is like, why are you hitting me on the head? Like, what's the problem with you? And Rafiki was like, it's in the past, so why do you care? And Simba was like, okay, I get it, but it still hurts. And Rafiki was like, that's the thing, the past is going to hurt, but it doesn't mean that because the past hurts that you shouldn't move on, that it doesn't give you an excuse to not move on with your life. He also, when Simba, asks him like, who are you? And Rafiki in turn asks him, who are you? Do you know who you are? Because it seems like you don't know who you are. And that's something as well that, we really need to learn in this present time, that we need to discover who we are, because a lot of us don't really know who we are. Our descriptions of who we are come from other people, and we're coming into a new age in which you cannot seek validation from outside. You need to create yourself. You need to validate yourself. You need to define who you are, not who people say you are. I feel like Rafiki also represents our spirit guides, because my spirit guides do that to me all the time. I have a spirit guide who's my grandfather, and he has this thing of like hitting me on the head with the door. So like if I'm walking through a door, it'll just hit me on the head like randomly, and it's like just to like spark me back into being awake, because sometimes we tend to be like in zombie mode, and life can tend to do that to you. But the thing is for you to not forget that it's an illusion. Now, moving on to the next scene, Rafiki tells Simba that he knows that his father is alive, and like Simba is super excited, and he's like, yo, I need to see my dad. Like, what do you mean he's alive? And he chases Rafiki through this like tree, and he takes him to this small pond, and he shows him his reflection. Now, to me, what that means is a lot of things, that, God is in you and me and in us all. So we have to learn to stop searching everywhere but ourselves. We are reflections of each other, and we are reflections of God, because God lives in you. When you forget who you are, you forget God. So it's a call for us to take our place in the circle of life, because we are sons and daughters of God, source, spirit, universe. And doing this and knowing this, then we become our Christ self, our highest self. The winds are changing. Change is not good, but it's not change is not good. Change is great, but it's not easy. That's what I meant to say. Change is not easy. Change is great. It's just not easy. And it's our ego selves that tells us, oh, we don't want to change because, it's not safe. We don't know what's on the other side. But, you'll never know what's on the other side if you never try. You'll never know if you never try. And it's really profound, because in this particular scene, when Simba is, learning that God is within him, that his father lives within him, he says to himself that going back, you know, to his homeland means that he'll have to face his past, and he realizes that he had been running from it for so long. So a lot of us realize that we've been running from our past for a really long time, but the more you run, the more it chases you. That's why you have to keep coming back to it, and it feels like an unending cycle that just I know how it feels. But let me tell you something, having crossed that threshold, like, yo, it is so worth it. It is so worth it. Like, I can't put into words. It's just a feeling, it's a state of mind. And I am so honored to be able to share my testimony and hope that it might help you on your own journey, to help you continue on, because the past really doesn't matter. And, as I said earlier, despite the fact that, the past hurts, you can either run from it or learn from it. And that's just how it is. You either run from it or you learn from it. So with this winter solstice coming up tomorrow, and the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, Saturn is the planet of like governance and like dogma, seriousness, so to speak. Saturn is like tradition, but Jupiter represents expansiveness, new ideas, new thinking. So that's a lot. There's so much spiritual significance in it. And I urge you, as you listen to this, for you to make the choice. I mean, everyone has free will, but what I'm letting you know is that it's time to make the choice. There's no more sitting on the fence. It's either you're on one side or the other side. So with that, I wish you all of the love and all of the light. If you need any sort of guidance, hit me up on my email. Link is in the description as usual, or you can check out our website, https collective.8b.io. Thank you so much for listening, Divine Soul. You are enough, you are limitless, and you are greater than you could ever know. I honor the greatness within you. Namaste. Hey there, guys.